unfortunately, I'm not a man of a few words. I'm a lady of a lot of words. So Ron has given me his preaching time to use. So buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And don't confuse me with Joyce Myers. I'm a transport from Macon, Georgia. My husband and I moved here because of his job changed. And we were both members of a Baptist church when we met, and then we relocated to a new church when we married. So when we came to Mobile, the first 2 years, we visited, I think, every Baptist church in Mobile County. And we actually joined a couple of churches. But to me, you've got to feel like you're a part of the church to be in a church. And I didn't realize there's so many different kinds of Baptist church. So our first church just wasn't a fit. Our second church split. Charles and I had never been a part of a church that split, and we had no idea what was going on. So we decided we needed to leave that church. But I went to Macon with my children to visit, and Charles visited First Baptist of Theodore. Well, when I got home, I heard rave reviews of First Baptist of Theodore. So the next Sunday, we attended, and the next Sunday, and the next Sunday. And we ended up moving our membership here the first or second week after they moved into this building. And I've never regretted it. I have so many friends and loved ones that I'm not going to try to name any of them because I wouldn't overlook anyone. But I have to mention Catherine Hankins. She was like a mother to me. It was like a magnet. And she would introduce me as the daughter she never had. And I would just bask in that. But later I found Miss Hankins, anyone she knew, she made feel special. That was just one of her gifts. She was the most godly person I think I've ever been around. She never said a bad word about anybody. She lifted everybody up. She encouraged everybody. But she was just one more special person. But when I came here, I was looking for love, fellowship, the Word. And this church filled my every need. It made me feel a part because my family were like the Waltons, a little bit rough around the edges, but all of my family lived in one place. And so when we moved down here, they wanted to lynch Charles for taking me away from the family. So, but this church supplied the family that I needed. And God supplied the love that I needed. To me, this is like is it the little train that could? Well, this is the little church that could. I've never known of us to get involved in anything, missions or whatever, that we didn't over-accomplish. It's just we come together for any need and we supply it, we go over it, and I just think that's such a good reputation for Theodore. I've seen so many of my loved ones and friends that have departed from this church. And that's sad, but when you get older, and I said older, not old, but when you get older, you look at death different. And, you know, life isn't our reward. Death is in our second life when we go on to be with the Lord. So when you lose a person, you realize they're going on to something greater than we could ever think about. So I do miss so many of them, but they were a blessing while they were here. I don't know what I would have done many times without y'all to substitute for my real family. I've got so many memories that I have from this church. I've been here 35 years, and I know that's a newcomer to a lot of you, but that is more than double my age that y'all have seen me go through. You've seen me through 50 Shades of Red. But there's been a lot of changes since I've been here, some good, some not so good, and some that are going to be better. So we've got a lot to look forward to. I have jotted down a few of my memories that I have from special times, and I may have left them home. But anyway, I can just think of so many things in this church. I can remember us having a fish fry for a family that was going to lose their home here, and that we collected enough money for them to pay their payments so they caught up and they didn't lose their home. I can remember us having one of our less fortunate people that lived in a trailer, had no family, no money, that was killed on the side of the road, that we buried, and probably he had his first suit that he had ever had, and we took care of him. We've always give to anything and everything out of love. I can remember a scary situation here when we first came. This was a large congregation, and everybody was kin to everybody, so you did not dare say anything about somebody. You'd say, oh, that's my cousin, that's my brother. But I wore pants to church. Well, I didn't know that was a no-no. So a lady stopped me and she said, you better not let Mr. Stacy catch you in those pants. He doesn't approve of pants. Well, I didn't know who Mr. Stacy was. So every man that looked at me, I thought, is that Mr. Stacy? Is that Mr. Stacy? Is he going to say something to me? Of course, he didn't, and I was okay. But I've had a daughter married in this church. I've had a granddaughter that was saved in Bible school in this church. I've had a husband that was buried in this church. So I have so many bittersweet memories here. I know another funny thing that happened here was, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate that I've been on every committee in this church except deacons. But Polly and I stayed late one Saturday afternoon decorating for Christmas. And we were out in the foyer and we were crawling around on the floor. We put the Christmas tree upside down, really putting it together. So we were having to crawl under it to put the branches under the tree. And dirty, sweaty. We went to the office and we had an alarm. And we didn't know the code and we set the alarm up. So the police came. Polly said, oh, DeLores, you think they're going to arrest us? And I said, yeah, we really look dangerous, But of course the police believed us, thank goodness. But and then I'll tell you about the worst meal I ever had in this church. I've been through 3 different kitchen committees, Norma, Patty, and then Janet. And I tell you, I've never had a job in this church or been in a group that I didn't thoroughly love. I got some kind of blessing out of it. It's like I was rewarded. And so you can't do enough for the Lord. But we fixed a meal. It was Janet's special recipe. And it did not turn out right. It was really a bad meal. So I told her, I said, Janet, if somebody comes up and said good meal, they're lying. So after the meal, Brother David, bless his heart, came up and said, good meal, Janet. So we died laughing. I don't mean that the preacher lied. He was just being gracious and kind. So I want you to know that I love each of you and how much you have meant to me to be in my substitute family. I've gained sisters, mother figures, because many of my friends are in their 90s. And somehow I'm starting to catch up with them. But another family I have special feelings for are the Hansons. When Charles died, I won't say Charles was a hoarder, but he was a collector of unwanted treasures. And so Sonny gave me his 2 sons, Johnny and Sidney, and they came over to my house for 2 weeks and burnt, chopped, carried off, disposed of numerous treasures. And we formed a bond that will never be broken. And each one of you, I have a story for, and I have a love for. And I'm so proud I'm a part of the family of God. I've been washed in the fountain, cleansed by his blood, joined heirs with Jesus as we travel this side, on part of the family of God.